Alright, you probably like superheroes. You probably have a very strong opinion on who's the best hero out of Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Hulk, Wolverine, so on and so forth, right? But despite these very strong opinions, you probably don't read comic books. And the question is, why? Why don't you read comics? The adaptations that everyone really likes are the ones that are closest to the comic book. For example, Superman 2025, when that came out, everyone instantly loved it. Everyone was filled with so much hope. Everyone was so inspired to be kinder to each other just because of one movie, just because of one character. And I feel very similarly about the Batman. And even though the movie only shows a Batman that's super early in his career, I still feel that everyone overall understood Batman just a little bit more. So people like comic book stories, and people definitely like comic book characters. Like my nigga Nightwing got a Nike collab coming out. So I say all this to ask, why don't people read comic books? Alright, so people are scared of comic books. They see them as intimidating to get into. For example, you see a cool ass manga character and you want to know more about him, so what do? You go to chapter 1 and you start reading. Now, what do you do when you see a comic book character you might like? Well, you go find issue 1 of that character and you start reading. Extremely simple stuff, but for some reason people have convinced themselves that that's not enough. They need to read every single issue that character has ever been in, and like, that's just not true. Comics as a medium is literally built around the fact that people could jump in at any time. Every single comic writer understands that when they're writing issue 1, this is an opportunity for a brand new reader to jump in and start reading. Yes, it is true that you'll lose bits and pieces of information here and there, but if you have any form of media literacy, you'll figure it out. Most comic books will give you a pretty solid understanding of the character that you're reading. And you'll definitely understand what's going on in the universe, because if comic books are good at anything, it's exposition. For example, me. The first comic book that I ever read was The Amazing Spider-Man 2014 by Dan Slott. Now this was the comic that came out right after Superior Spider-Man. Now if you don't know, Superior Spider-Man is a storyline where Dr. Octopus took over Peter Parker's body and switched up his entire life. Now I had never read Superior Spider-Man before. I didn't know why Peter was the head of a billion-dollar company called Parker Industries. I didn't know why Peter was dating a midget. But just by continuing to read the comic book, I figured it out. And I did that when I was 7 years old, man. I'm pretty sure you could do that at your big ass age. You know, the argument that comics are hard to start usually comes from anime fans who are just hating, but them boys never want to mention the niggas who skip part 1 and part 2 of JoJo's so they can get into the stands immediately, bro. It's niggas who have never watched OG Dragon Ball, they only watch Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, and they're okay with it. When it comes to anime, y'all are perfectly fine with skipping the beginning and going straight to the hype moments, but you think you need to read Detective Comics number 27 from 1939 so you can read Batman? Really? I said this earlier in the video, but the conversation around comic books is headed by the niggas who don't read comic books. This is a very bad thing because those non-comic book readers are the majority. They decide what the general public knows. So those people can spread harmful agendas about comic books that turns away potential new readers. For example, comic books being hard to start. I just talked about that. That's an agenda pushed by someone who doesn't read comic books. And they could also spread agendas about characters that make comics seem like dog shit. For example, Injustice. It's an Elseworld story that has no effect on the main timeline and isn't representative of the actual characters at all. And it doesn't try to represent the characters, it just tries to tell its story. But non-comic readers saw it and they ran with it. They acted like it was the only fucking timeline that existed, bro. They acted like it was the only version of the characters that existed, and they put so much slander on every single character involved with it, bro. Niggas was talking about Superman's evil this, Wonder Woman's an evil bitch that, Damian Wayne needs to be killed. Oh my goodness, bro. It ruined so many characters' public perception, bro. Wonder Woman and Damian's PR especially was in the mud, bro. I think Wonder Woman was able to recover a little bit, but Damian is hold to this day. Now, you may be asking, why does it matter if a non-comic reader hates a character? That's very simple. Alright, let's say you're a non-comic book reader, and by pure happenstance, you run into a comic book shop, and you see a Batman comic book on the shelf. You know, it's the current Batman run by Matt Fraction, and you decide, hey, you know what? I low-key like the Batman movies. Let me check it out. You're gonna open the comic, and you're gonna see one of the main characters is Damian Wayne, and you're gonna think about every bad thing you've heard about Damian Wayne, every negative thing you've heard about him, how he's such a shit character, how he's never been Robin, and you're going to put the comic back on the shelf. You see what type of negative effect that shit can have? It's especially bad when popular niggas talk down on comic books.
But how many Green Lanterns supposed to be on the set?
See, now, Blake, you from Marvel, so you don't really know. There really is more than one Green Lantern. That's Hal Jordan, and I'm John Stewart.
See, Blake, you from Marvel, you don't really know. There really is more than one Green Lantern. See, that's Hal Jordan, and I'm John Stewart.
What? Green Lantern ain't never been light-skinned.
Green Lantern ain't never been dark skinned.
Is he just repeating what I'm saying?
Is he just repeating what I'm saying?
RDC just hold all of Green Lantern, bro. Now niggas finna be going around talking about all the Green Lantern are the same nigga. Even though all them niggas are completely different characters, bro. Even though they have the same powers, they use them bitches completely differently as well. And let's keep it a buck, bro. When do you think the last time any nigga in RDC read a comic book? I'm talking all 8 of them niggas, Ippy included. And I know for a fact that them niggas especially never read no Green Lantern. Cause listen to this part right here.
What? Green Lantern ain't never been dark skinned.
Cause what do you mean Green Lantern ain't never been dark skinned? When is John Stewart not dark skinned, bruh? In fact, even the other black Green Lantern is also dark skinned, bro. Comics released on a monthly schedule as opposed to manga's weekly schedule. And while that is good for comic creators, as they don't have to rush to make super intense deadlines like manga creators do, in this era, everybody has TikTok brain. They need constant content. Leaving for a month just to drop one issue? Oh yeah, GG. I'm not gonna lie, I had this same problem, bro. I love Uncanny X-Men 2024 by Gail Simone, but I am 11 issues behind. That's 11 months, bro. Damn! I haven't read this comic in 11 months. That's almost a year. I definitely need to tee up. I know. But you can't fully blame me. When it comes to comic books, you have to actively go look for them. And if you don't go looking for them, you kind of just forget to read. And that leads into my next point, availability. Comic book availability is absolute trash, bro. It's not the easiest thing in the world to go find comic books. For example, you go to Walmart and you go to the book section because where else are you gonna find comic books? You look around and they don't got anything. They got manga, they got mid manga, they got good manga, they got amazing manga, they got the best manga, they even have absolute dog shit. And they got some shit you ain't never even heard of, but you don't see any comic books. But then you remember, comic books are kind of floppy compared to manga. They wouldn't be with the hardcover books. They would be near the magazines. Okay, that makes sense. So you go over to magazines and yeah, you don't see no comics. If you want to find comics, you gotta go down to your local comic book shop, which, hey, could be fun as hell. My local comic shop is lit as fuck, so I love being there. But what if you don't have a comic shop near you? You're just hoed. But comic books are the easiest thing to pirate, so maybe this isn't even an issue. Actually, I've been talking a lot about why I think people don't read comics. Let's go ask the people themselves. Okay, Gene, so why don't you read comic books?
Why would I read that cape shit garbage, my nigga? Bro,
Oh, man.
I only watch fucking anime exclusively, bro. I only read manga exclusively. I'm only here for the Japanese hoes, nigga. I'm not trying to read none of that fucking garbage, bro. None of that fucking Batman bullshit, bro. None of that Spider Cuck bullshit, bro. I'm not on that shit, bro. That shit's horrible, man. They got 50 fucking different plot lines running, bro. I'm not fucking watching that shit. I gotta traverse everything. I have to traverse through the fucking wiki just to figure out what to read, bro. I'm not fucking doing that shit, bro. It's awful. It's garbage.
Alright. Thanks, Gene. Well, damn. You know, at least it can't get any worse, you know? Alright, hermano, so why don't you read comic books?
Cause I'm not a virgin, you bum ass nigga! I have a line! Feels the me! Unlike some people out here who just sit on their butt and just read comic books, okay? Cartoon books, alright? Go pick up a real book, alright?
Wait.
I have too much things to worry about instead of reading a comic book. I got bills, a mortgage. What do you have, Wendy? What are you paying?
I'm not.
Nothing!
I mean, I'm not a.
I don't care! You still live in your parents! Probably live in the basement! Don't ask me this question ever again!
Let's just move on to the next thing, bro. Alright, Cedric, so why don't you read comic books?
I can't read. Like, reading's overrated for real. I just watch stuff.
You for real right now, bro?
Yeah, like it's 2026. Come on, bro. Like, you still reading for real? Lock in.
I guess you only learn how to fucking E-date and play Demon Hunter. Alright, man.
Whoa. I don't know about all that now. I don't know about all that though.
Yeah, head ass.
Chill up.
You know, this video's been a lot of doom and gloom about comic books, but it's not over just yet. comic books definitely still have a chance to rise back up in the public eye. Absolute Batman's been on an absolute tear, no pun intended. Everyone talks about Absolute Batman now. People are waiting for the previews like they wait for JJK leaks. The level of popularity that it's got is insane. It just goes to show that the cream will always rise to the top. If comic creators continue making amazing comic books, I'm sure comics will be just fine.